Hey guys, as some of you know, yesterday I received the Model Y and I took delivery, but I didn't get a chance to really drive it. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys kind of like a owner's first drive experience. I did go and move my Model 3, who's called Case by the way, yesterday, and got back into TARS, which is my Model Y, and it definitely felt quite different. The Model 3 is no slouch and it's not uncomfortable either. It just feels a lot more sporty and cramped. You definitely feel like you're in a coupe instead of an SUV, and I was driving SUV for quite a while before I moved over to Teslas, so I feel very happy that I'm back in an SUV. It is just so much more comfortable. My legs have much more space. There's no vertical compression feeling, and it's quite interesting because the cabin is basically the same as a Model 3, but for some reason it just feels a lot more premium. My girlfriend has been saying like it just feels so much nicer. Maybe it's just new because it has the new car smell still. She just chimed in now and she said that it is less claustrophobic, so it definitely feels less claustrophobic. Every time I get back into the Model 3, I do feel like it is a little bit cramped, and it feels like, you know, the headline is quite close to your head, and I'm not a tall guy. I mean, I'm about 170 centimeters, so it's not like, you know, I am 190 or like 2 meters, and I'll put the feet and inches down here. For a more comfortable drive, I do think the Model Y is the better car if you want to have a good daily driver. Obviously not for everyone. It is a very big car. Like, didn't realize how much bigger it was because in my garage it literally looks massive. In this video, I'm gonna go for a drive. We're gonna go somewhere in town. I'm gonna show you driving around town, parking in town as well, with hopefully the Autopark works, and also I'm gonna launch it. I've got this thing called the Race Box, which is a GPS timing device that I use for karting and racing, but they also have a drag function as well, and this is much more accurate. Obviously you guys can go by the screen and we can see how many seconds it takes to 100 kilometers per hour, but with this it can record the drag times, and I will share that with you guys as well. So if you guys are interested to know if the launch edition and the acceleration boost would be worth it for you. So anyways, we're gonna head out now. We're going to a tile painting class, Portuguese tile painting class, and we will show you guys when we get a bit closer what it's like. As you know, the batteries are under the floor, so the center of gravity is very low, so control is very good in this car. But yeah, we'll see you guys either on the highway or once we arrive to park, but stay tuned for first owner's driving experience of the Tesla Model Y Juniper, specifically the launch edition in Quicksilver. Another question from my girlfriend now is whether they have improved the brakes, because the brakes on the Model 3 were quite, I would say, a little bit sketchy, because obviously you're not supposed to be driving aggressively and you're supposed to be relying on regenerative braking and not use the brake pedal that much, but every time I had to brake, it just felt like the brakes didn't have enough stopping power for the power of car that the Model 3 had, and I had the base model, so that has been a complaint. Even in the performance model, people have complained around the track. If you take the car around the track, the brakes seem to overheat quite easily. I wonder if the brakes on here would be a lot better, and we'll test that in this video as well, because obviously it is a much heavier car, way more power than my standard range Model 3. So if I do experience any issues with the brakes, I will let you know. But right now I have the setting on standard brake regen. There's a reduced version in this car, not available in the Model 3 because the stalk is so, it takes getting used to. I like the stalk. A lot of people complain that the stalk is very light and there's only, so if you do this, I can only move it once and there's no click, it doesn't click into place or anything, but I quite like it. It makes it feel like it's very short travel and easy to use, and it's not too far from the steering wheel, so it's quite comfortable to use. So I'll report back on some of those questions. If you guys have any other questions pertaining to this car specifically, comparison to the Model 3, or driving ownership of a Tesla over the past 1.5 years, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to answer those questions. If you like this type of content, remember to like and subscribe, and I will also be making a detailed comparison between the Model 3 exterior, interior, driving features, differences, similarities, so check out for that video as well. Okay, on the road with the new Tesla Model Y. So first up, it is much higher than the Model 3. You have much better visibility. The rear camera is much higher up, so you actually have a lot of visibility through the rear camera if you want to use that. Whereas the Model 3, like, you know, you're kind of looking at people's toes with the rear camera. It kind of was like more angled downwards, whereas this, I think the angle is the same, but because the car is high up, you have a better field of view. The other thing to note is that the Model Y, I got the long range, the launch edition, which is a long range only, has the NMC battery, so I can't charge to 100% all the time. The charging is to 80%, so the range of this car at 80% is kind of similar to my Model 3. Obviously, over time we'll see what the efficiency is. So far I drove 3 kilometers and it's 139 watt hours per kilometer from my house, but obviously this is not highway speed or anything. It's really around town. We're in Foz now, Foz do Douro, and as you can see, it's a beautiful day here in Portugal. We've been really lucky with the weather these past few days, and this road here, it's quite smooth, but there are a little bit of bumps on the road, and you can definitely feel and hear the bumps, especially when the radio is off. So I would say that it's not soft like the air suspension in the Model X, but it's definitely bearable. It's not uncomfortably stiff. You can definitely feel that they had to balance between the stiffness for handling, because it handles very well. I feel very confident with the steering wheel. They did change the steering ratio, so apparently it's a larger ratio than the previous Model Y, but it doesn't feel not sporty at all. It definitely feels like I have full control of the car. Driving is kind of similar to the Model 3. I wouldn't say massive differences. I would say being higher up definitely gives you a different perspective, but also being high up just generally makes me feel more comfortable. I'm looking above most other cars. There's a Renault Modus in front of us, and the Model 3 would have been like same height as that, even though that's slightly higher than a regular car. But up here I'm looking like almost over the car. So I really forgot how big the Model Y was, but this one has a huge presence to it. And what's nice is, given that I got probably one of the first deliveries here in Porto, because I ordered on the launch date, 24th of January, I haven't seen this car anywhere else. So a lot of people are looking at my car. It has quite a striking appearance. The rear light bar makes it look like it is much bigger than it is, and the front I think also accentuates the width with the full width light bar there as well. I had the similar experience when I got the Model 3 as well, because when I got the Model 3 Highland, not many people had that, and when I was driving around Lisbon, for example, everyone was like, wow, this is the new Model 3. I hadn't seen it before. And what I like about what they did with the Model Y is that they didn't just blow up the Model 3, because I think that was one of the biggest complaints that a lot of people had, that the Model Y literally looks like the Model 3 stuck its thumb in its mouth and just blew, and then it got fatter. Funny enough, though, I do think the proportions of the old Model 3's design look better in the old Model Y than the Model 3, that froggy look. But it looks so old now. Back in the day, I think the Model Y actually looked kind of nice. It looked pretty futuristic, but it has been many years. So if you put this, there's a nice, that's a turbo, I think, a Porsche Macan turbo. This car next to the Porsche Macan actually doesn't look cheap. So what's interesting is what they've done with the Model Y is the small changes that they made to the exterior actually puts it close in the leagues of the typical German luxury brands. If I park this next to a Porsche Macan or Mercedes EQ, although I think the Mercedes EQs look horrible, or the BMW X3, iX3, it doesn't look like that it is from a segment below. Whereas the Model 3, if you park that next to a 3 Series or 4 Series or next to a Mercedes, or I don't think you can park it next to any Porsche, because the Porsche doesn't have a compact compact EV, beg your pardon. It definitely looks like, from the design elements, it does look like a cheaper car, whereas the Model Y literally looks like it can be in that category with the other cars, which are at least 30 or 40% more. I bought the most expensive Model Y at launch, and it was about 63,000. Obviously I had an enhanced autopilot, so 65,000 euros. The Porsche Macan 4 is like 90,000 euros, 90,000 euros. So it is much more expensive, and I think in terms of value for money, I don't think you're going to beat the Model Y. If you want real value for money, just buy the rear-wheel drive standard range, and damn, that car is only like 40-something thousand euros brand new. You cannot get anything for that price in this quality. I can guarantee that. Maybe the Chinese cars, I have to look at those, but I'm talking about the European brands that I'm used to. So if you guys have any opinions on that, let me know. Have a debate in the comments. This is always a touchy topic. Some people are like, oh no, you can't compare those type of cars. But to me, owning BMWs before Tesla my whole life, this does feel like it's finally in a similar category. If you guys ever take off the rear seat of your Model 3 rear wheel drive, you can take the bottom off or like unclip it. The motor is just underneath the back seat, and when you accelerate, it actually is even louder because the seat is covering the sound. But what's nice about this one is that it's got dual motor, one in the front and the one in the back. And if I sit very quietly and I accelerate, you can hear the zzz, like the whirring sound from under my feet over here in front and the back. And I personally love that sound. I don't know if it's for everyone. I also like cars that have pumped in sound, like the Porsche sounds and the BMW. I'm not sure if Tesla will ever do that because I think it's a bit gimmicky, but the natural sounds from the electric motor I really like. Obviously nothing beats internal combustion engine with the gears. If you want that, you can always look at the Ionic because they have the simulated ones. But yeah, here we're driving on some cobblestones, and it definitely feels more comfortable than the Model 3 on this road. Even though suspension is stiff, it actually dampens these like high frequency vibrations more so than the Model 3. I think that it's because the Model 3 is closer to the ground. I need to go find a parking spot now because I don't feel like parking my brand new car that's not PPF'd yet on the side of the road. So let's go look for that, and I'll show you guys when I'm parking. And you guys can see that there's the tower Torre de Clérigos, the Clérigos Tower. Torre, I think that's how the Porto people pronounce it. I'm learning Portuguese, but I'm learning the Porto accent because I live here in the north, and the double R is a ch sound. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below, because I know accent down south is r, and not everyone agrees with that over here at least. You must remember that this car is actually a lot higher up than the Model 3, so the ground clearance is good. Model 3 tends to scrape the bottom sometimes. Oh, I almost hit the side there. Wow, the curb. But yeah, as you can see, it is much higher up. Let's see if we can get a nice parking spot which Tesla Autopark is going to agree to park in. Oh, there seems to be two over here, so let's just park around here. So let's get started. Someone behind me? No, no one's behind me. My hands and feet are off the pedals and steering wheel. First time auto parking. Seems to have needed some more space. Okay, it's going back. So this one's a strange one because there's like a barrier that is a temporary barrier on that parking bay. Let's see how it does. And how cool is this? It emits the brake light on the floor. That is one of the coolest thing about this reflective light that they put in the Model Y. As usual, it always parks quite far out, so I always have to move it a little bit further back. I think it's because, in case you want to grab something from the back or something. But then again, this Mercedes did park quite far into the bay. But we are in the bay. Yeah, that was pretty easy. Obviously, that was an easy parking bay. But we're going to go for our tile painting class. I'll show you guys a bit of a snippet of that, and then we'll drive back home on the highway, and I'll do a launch as well. So I will record that on the GPS so it's completely accurate. No fudging the numbers, as Tesla usually does with a 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 times. It's a 530D Grand Tourer, and look how big the Model Y is. It's bigger. It's a really big car. Okay, back in our car and using Sentry mode for the first time. Let's see if we have any people that are looking at the car. Nope, not that one. Oh, that's me. Seems like no one noticed. I thought there would be more Tesla enthusiasts. On that one, nothing happened there. Nothing happened there. I mean, this person, I don't think he's looking at the car. I think he's looking for his car. This person's squeezing past the car. Well, the person put their butt on my car. Should I sue? I'm kidding, guys. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to launch the car today because you guys can see that it is rush hour. That tile painting class was pretty cool, but it took 4 hours instead of the 2 hours that it said it was going to be. I had a lot of fun though. It was really cool. So if you watch the clip just before this section, if you guys are in Porto and you guys want to have a fun activity that is quite traditional and relaxing, I do recommend checking out the tile painting class. They also have a pastel de nata making class as well that happens at the same place. So if you guys are interested, I will leave the links in the description below. Not sponsored. They don't even know I'm making this video. I'm just going to add it in there for them. So if you guys are coming, check them out as well. So we're heading home now. I'm going to be driving on the cobblestone. The cobblestone do definitely feel a lot more comfortable in this car than the Model 3. I think the Model 3 it quite jerks quite a bit. So maybe the stiffer suspension does help because it doesn't allow that high frequency reverberation of the tile. But I think the benefit you definitely feel would be on surfaces like this, and also on highway speeds when you're taking corners. I think there will be less body roll. It's just when you go over, acute bumps like a traffic bump, you definitely feel that is much stiffer than the Model 3. It's definitely not a negative. I wouldn't take negative points away from it because the benefit seems to outweigh the negatives. I did watch another video, Top Gear video reviewing this car, and the reviewer said, within 10 seconds of driving the new model, you can definitely tell that it's improved over the previous. And when he interviewed Lars, the chief engineer at Tesla, they basically said, if you do not make an impression within the first 10 seconds of a new model, what's the point of releasing a new model? Because you didn't make enough changes. And I definitely agree, because as far as I remember when I drove the old Model Y compared to this one, firstly, it feels way more modern. It feels definitely one step up from the Model 3 in terms of interiors, but in general, the refinedness, the quietness in the cabin is definitely a step up from the previous Model Y. Tomorrow, I'll probably go on the highway and launch the car for you to get you those stats, and I'll include that in this video, but we'll see you guys when I do that tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day, and I just had a karting race, and I did pretty terribly. The first race, I think I got a bad kart, and in the second race, I overtook someone and then they pushed me off, but these things happen. So yesterday we didn't get a chance to drag the car, but now I'm going to drag it properly, because last night when I tried to drag it, I actually didn't put the car to a standstill, and this is very accurate, so we're going to see what it's like. We're going to go on the highway on the way home, and you see there's Finley very anxiously waiting for me, and we are going to go on the highway and see what this can do, 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 62. And I'll share the stats with you guys. But before we do that, some of you have asked about the turning circle in this car. I haven't actually tested that, and I guess I'm not sure if I can objectively test that. Obviously, I won't be able to compare it to the old Model Y, but the turning circle doesn't seem bad. I mean, if you look over here, I am leaving here, and it doesn't seem like, it struggles to maneuver. In an upcoming video, I will compare this car's turning circle to the Model 3, so I'll be able to go around somewhere or try to do a U-turn somewhere, and then we can see for sure which one is smaller, because the Model 3's turning circle isn't great, to be honest. So let's see if this one actually turns better than the Model 3, because that'll be actually quite interesting as a comparison. One more thing I wanted to comment on that was an improvement that I read about, and experiencing it is quite cool. The brake is much more consistent in this car than the Model 3, and also in the previous Model Y as well, because previously when the car brakes for you, or when the car's holding, the brake actually moves out of the way by itself, and then when you release the brake, it comes back as if it's automated, it's also connected, whereas this new car has brake by wire. So apparently the brake pedal actually isn't connected to the brakes directly. It's connected to the computer, and the computer sends the information, so they're able to keep the pressure and also the distance of your brake pedal exactly the same each time, which is much more predictable, and predictability when driving is obviously much safer as well. So that's something that you might find different as well if you drive this car. The brake pedal and the accelerator pedal it looks really bad. Like, I'm definitely going to upgrade these to metal pedals because they look very cheap as usual. But the stalks coming out of the pedals are much thicker. It looks a lot thicker, so it looks quite nice. If you have any other questions, I'm obviously going to include the drag again at the end of this video. But if you have any specific questions, remember to leave them in the comments below, so I can get back to you on those questions. Just to comment on the highway driving, it is very silent in this cabin. I actually think it's a bit more silent than the Model 3. Might be because of the tires. I've got the Michelin Pilot Sport EVs on these, and the previous car was the Hancocks. I need to chat to my friend at Pneush Pintu Pintu, because he said the Hancocks are good because they're harder tires, because they last longer, and the Michelins are softer. And I'm not sure if these Michelins are the same as the 19 inch I think, Michelin, the smaller one basically, Michelin's on the Model 3, because he said those ones are softer tires, which implies better grip, but the problem is that it doesn't last as long. Obviously, you know, in terms of practicality and stuff, you want something that lasts longer so that you can change your tires less frequently, and that probably also has an impact on road noise. But in the cabin, it is super silent, very smooth driving the highway. I do think it is smoother than the Model 3, and obviously a lot more comfortable because you're higher up. I've driven about 100 kilometers with the car already. As you can see, I picked it up yesterday or 2 days ago, 114 kilometers I think, and we're at 112 kilometers. Overall, over the past 100 kilometers, it's mainly been driving in the town, city environments, metro environments, and now I'm on the highway, and yes, it is very smooth. Very happy with this car. There are a few small things that are quite different to the Model 3 in terms of details inside the cabin that you'll probably get in the entry-level Model Y as well. What I noticed was on the steering wheel, there's some graining on the horn over here, whereas on the Model 3, as far as I remember, it's completely smooth. So this makes it feel a little bit more premium. Looks like it's leather. Over here, obviously, we have this trim here separate with this trim, but on this section here on the top, on the Model 3, this is completely flat, whereas over here there's a little bit of a ridge here, which makes it look quite nice. So these small things really do make the Model Y seem like a more premium package than the Model 3, and differentiates it a bit instead of it just being a jacked up Model 3 like the previous generation. So these little details, I really appreciate that Tesla did this. In the launch edition, you know, with this Alcantara over here, obviously the regular long range will also have this Alcantara. To be fair, there's probably gonna be a lot of aftermarket trims that you can buy for this piece, which I had in my Model 3 with the carbon fiber. So if you don't like the trim that comes with your standard range Model Y or the long range one that is not the launch edition, someone will probably make the suede or a carbon fiber one, which will probably be coming out in the performance model later this year. So overall, driving has been really great. The stalk is easy to get used to, for sure, but sometimes, you know, in a panic, I still press these buttons because I'm so used to it. And the funny thing is, the one is wipers, so it's quite similar to when you get into an Eastern car, like an Asian-based car, and the stalk's on the wrong way around, and you press the stalk and then the wipers start going. So I kind of have the same problem. But the other button to go right in the Model, wait, left, sorry. I'm actually forgetting which button's which. But anyways, the top button on the steering wheel is actually to flash. So sometimes I end up flashing people for no reason because I'm actually trying to just indicate. So that could be a little bit of annoyance. Another thing I noticed was that on the race box, there's the 1 feet rollout that's enabled by default. This is the same technique that Tesla uses to measure the Model S plan to get the 1.9 seconds, because they take out the 1 foot rollout to compensate for any sort of grip or slip. There's an option to turn this off, so I'll do this twice. First time I'll try with the 1 foot rollout on, and again with the 1 foot rollout off. Just to give you guys a bit of a context of where we're at, we are at 58% charge. I've set the steering to stiff, and at stiff, you know, it's very sharp. I haven't felt like it's been too heavy, but I think the steering and the weight is very similar to the Model 3. So if you've driven that, I think you'll have a similar experience. And everything's on the highest acceleration, so I'm not on chill mode or anything. So by the time we launch, it should be giving us the full power at 58% charge. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, 120. There you go. So we got reading 0 to 100 with 1 foot rollout, 4.27, guys. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna drive backwards and let's turn off the 1 foot rollout and see what it is. I'll share this on the screen as well, the stats from Racebox, just to show you how many G-forces it is. 0 to 60 kilometers per hour was 2.28 seconds. Unfortunately, that's not 0 to 60 miles per hour, because that would have been absolutely insane. So yeah, this car has a lot of power. This is now the fastest car I've ever owned, and the funny thing is, it's not a sports car either. I would never have imagined that I would have owned a really fast car that is an EV, because that is just too funny. Pod is quite smooth. Okay, so new track session, and this time, no, not track session, new drag session. 0 to 60, and then wait, I need to turn off the 1 foot rollout. 0 to 60.
Sure.
Let me take a look.
Whatever car
focus. Oh no, I'll be gone by there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's no 1 foot rollout. Damn, this is very fast, guys. Jeez, wow, that's fast. That is fast. I mean, it's not like super crazy fast. The brake is definitely much stronger.
Much better than the.
It definitely feels like, you know what it feels like? The Model 3 feels like it only has rear brakes. Like, it doesn't feel like it brakes on all 4 wheels, whereas this one actually feels like it brakes quite well. And I didn't even apply the brakes quite hard. I actually applied it like quite medium. I didn't want to burn the brakes.
Also, the Model 3, like when it brakes, it almost feels like something's slipping.
Could be the tires as well, because the Hankook tires are hard tires, so I think it probably doesn't have as much grip. Whereas Michelin's are known to be very grippy. I've had Michelin Pilot Sports in my BMW back in the day, and those tires were super grippy, very nice. So I do wonder if it is that. And yeah, so that's what we got on the second run. It's okay. So the first time was 4.26 with 1 foot rollout, and the second time was 4.45 without the 1 foot rollout. So 4.4. I think the official stats is 4.2. So they probably are measuring with the 1 foot rollout, as you know Tesla does with marketing gimmicks. Other car manufacturers like BMW and Porsche usually understate the figures, and then the customers are happier. But you know, I think, to be honest, this was not a sports car. Obviously, if I had paid separately for the acceleration boost, I should be thinking about it as that I paid for it because it came with the launch edition. But I'm not going to fret over 0.2 seconds, considering that I'm not going to launch this car very frequently. And as you can see, it's got a lot of power. So that's it for today. If you guys have any specific questions about the car, if you guys from watching this video and my previous video of the delivery, if there's anything that you've seen online that you haven't gotten the answer to, please drop them in the comments below. I will try and make the video for you. I'm going to go to Korea in about a week, so my car's going to head down to Algarve with Outclass to get fully PPF'd. So I'm going to try and make as many videos for you guys this week while I'm still here. And also I'm going to compare with my Model 3, because I'm sending my Model 3 to my friend who's selling it. So if you guys are interested in that as well, I'll put a link to the Instagram of my friend who is listing the car, and you can chat to him directly if you're interested in buying the Model 3. So I'll see you guys next time, and thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, correction guys, I looked in my car, and the acceleration boost brings your car down to 4.4 seconds 0 to 100 kilometers, and with the 1 foot rollout turned off, it was 1 foot rollout turned off was 4.45, so it is very accurate actually. So props to Tesla. I actually thought it was 4.2 for some reason, but I think the non-acceleration boost was 4.7. I will include it over here to show you. So yeah, I think 4.4 seconds is still extremely fast. In other conditions, maybe I can get it a bit quicker, maybe 4.39 or something, but 4.45, that's basically what's rated. So I'm happy. 4.2, I think I was getting confused because that's the 0 to 60 mile per hour time. So before you guys go and attack me in the comments, it is what they're rated. So good job, Tesla, and we'll see you guys in the next video.